Welcome back, mystery lovers. Today's case is going to keep you on the edge of your seat. The case of Lissi family. This story takes place in Modo Visconti, a small town between Milan and Pavia, Italy, with a population of just 6,000. It is a classic, picturesque village where many seek a peaceful life away from the chaos of larger cities, making it a popular place to safely raise children. Typically, crime rates are low in such areas. However, even this peaceful Italian village can harbor horrors. On June 14, 2014, a horrific event unfolded here. Around 2 a.m., a local man ran into the street, screaming for help. He managed to reach a neighbor who had been awakened by the noise. In shock, he explained that his family had been attacked. He told the neighbor that their home had been robbed and everyone inside had been killed, while he had miraculously managed to escape. Appearing to be in a state of shock, he was unable to call emergency services himself, so the neighbors took it upon themselves to make the call and handed him the phone. When neighbors understood what had happened, they realized that the attackers had killed Lissi's wife, his 5-year-old daughter and 1.5-year-old son. Lissi, 31 at the time of the tragedy, had been watching a football match between Italy and England with friends. When Lissi left his home, everything seemed peaceful. However, when he returned after the match, he was horrified to find his house covered in blood. First, he discovered the body of his wife Catherine, then went upstairs and found the bodies of his children in the room. Despite his best efforts to save them, he was unable to save them. The dispatcher instructed the Lissi to check on the victims and assist them, but Lissi outright refused to touch the bodies. The rescue service operator didn't find anything unusual in Lissi's behavior. He was panicking, shocked, crying, screaming, and speaking nonsensically, but his reactions were generally typical for someone in such a situation. Emergency services were dispatched to the scene before the police arrived. Meanwhile, Lissi called his father to talk about the incident. When the police arrived, he and his father were already meeting on the porch of the house. Doctors confirmed the deaths of 38-year-old Catherine and her 2 children. Police arrived at the scene around 4 a.m., where forensic experts were already examining the house for evidence. Initially, it was thought that a gang of robbers had broken in, especially since they had attacked another family a year earlier with knives and had not been caught. However, police quickly ruled out the robbery theory because there were no signs of forced entry or theft. Even a wallet containing money, which was left in plain sight, had not been disturbed. It seemed unlikely that the intruders could have entered and exited the house without leaving a trace unless they were familiar with the victims. The house was unusually clean, with hardly any blood stains that should have been there after an attack. It raised concerns that the criminal had cleaned the entire house, with suspicion naturally falling on Lissi. Statistics show that the people closest to a victim are often the ones who commit the crime. Lissi had fresh, deep cuts on his hands that he couldn't explain. He also discovered the lifeless bodies of his family members, which were already cold, suggesting they had been murdered hours before he went to see his friends. The police observed that he was acting oddly. Lissi struggled to show emotions. He couldn't cry, no matter how hard he tried. He seemed very anxious, glancing around nervously. Since he couldn't produce tears, he stood there in silence, doing nothing, even though his entire family had been brutally killed. It appeared as if he didn't care at all. This behavior aroused suspicion, and as police began questioning him, Lissi's fears became clear. He began pacing the room, scratching his hands and banging on furniture. While this could have been a sign of stress and distress, police suspected something much darker. Doctors recommended treatment for Lissi's arm wound. Later, he was asked to strip down for examination. When he removed his shirt, police discovered drops of blood on his lower back, but his clothes were clean. The police spoke to the neighbors, who reported strange noises and a woman's screams at around 11 p.m., just before Lissy left the house. However, the noises quickly disappeared and the neighbors did not think to call the police. Had they acted sooner, it could have saved the children's lives, as they did not die immediately but bled out over a long period of time. The police observed that the mess in Lissy's house was unusual for a typical robbery. Usually, thieves leave items scattered and broken, but in Lissy's case, many things were untouched and arranged neatly, as if someone had staged. This raised suspicions about Lissy's involvement in the triple murder. Experienced police pieced together the evidence like a puzzle and brought Lissy in for questioning. During the interrogation, Lissy acted unusually, instead of responding to questions. He requested pizza, sweets, and soda. He denied any connection to the crime and stuck to his version of events. After his arrest, Lissy was locked in a cell, where he promptly fell asleep. The next day, he remained calm and even carefree, which was evident in his demeanor. The police decided to investigate Lissy's colleagues, who revealed that he had recently developed strong feelings for an attractive girl named Maria. Lissy became increasingly focused on Maria and made the firm decision to end her relationship with Catherine. During his interrogation, Lissy tried to create an illusion of love and devotion for Catherine. The police were concerned about his mental health. They decided to manipulate his emotions. The police informed Lissy that his new colleagues despised him even more after the deaths of his wife and child, and this tactic worked. It threw Lissy off balance. He lost his temper and exploded in anger. 20 minutes later, he began confessing, after which Lissy was formally charged with murder. The police began gathering information about his family in preparation for the trial. Lissy was born in Kazara as the first child in the family and later had a younger brother. Their father was a strict and demanding man, clearly favoring his youngest son over Lissy, who was often scolded. Lissy felt deeply hurt by this treatment and never found the courage to confront her father. He followed his orders without question, and if he was in a bad mood, Lissy would immediately retreat, knowing that it could lead to more trouble. During his teenage years, Lissy grew fed up with what he had been through as a young man. By the age of 20, he began to show his true character and no longer wanted to hide his feelings or follow his father's orders. At school, he faced bullying and was influenced by his family's expectations, but he persisted in trying to make people happy. This desire to please became a painful struggle, as Lissy often put the needs of others before his own. Lissy faces psychological issues but avoids addressing them, instead choosing to let events unfold naturally. Occasionally, Lissy will engage in arguments, but he is easily overpowered by others. To prevent worsening the situation, he believed he was making the right choice by avoiding any conflict. He felt certain that he would lose in any confrontation, so he chose to remain silent and endure everything. He had been conditioned to value others' opinions over his own. He would laugh when others laughed and felt sad when they were sad. Lissy always tried to present himself well to avoid criticism about his appearance. He started going to the gym to fit in more socially. He was terrified of social rejection, but he hid his insecurities by portraying himself as altruistic and or help others. Lissy's father forced him to study economics at university, leaving him with no other choice. He pursued this path and graduated at 21, securing a consulting job at a large firm in Milan. However, he did not enjoy the job. Despite his dissatisfaction, he stayed in the job due to the high salary and good working conditions. He spent all his free time focused on his career, and while it seemed he was successful, he still did not find fulfillment in it. Feeling the pressure from those around him, including friends who constantly asked when he would find a girlfriend and get married, Lissy began searching for a wife. After 2 years of unsuccessful dating, he finally met his future wife, Catherine. Lissy, 23, and Catherine, 30, their age difference doesn't seem to pose any problems. She's more mature and experienced, often guiding him through their relationship. Catherine sees their relationship as the perfect foundation for starting a family. Catherine is a determined and possessing a strong personality that makes her difficult to manipulate. She's been independent since she was a child. By the age of 20, Catherine supported herself. Although she seemed uncertain about her direction, she was still full of energy. She aspired to pursue acting and further her education. Catherine devotes all her free time to her passion. In contrast to Lissy, the difference between her and Lissy is clear. Catherine shares a relationship with her father based on mutual understanding and respect, while Lissy shares very little with her father. While Catherine was socially active, Lissy was rather introverted. She became an insurance agent at a company in Modo Visconti. She had a successful career and was highly regarded at work. Catherine chose to stay in this small town because it made her feel comfortable. Her family and friends lived nearby, and she found everything she needed in life without any problems. Catherine loved musicals and performed at the Modo Visconti Oratory. During this time, she also developed a love for public speaking, and it was here that she met her future husband, Lissy. Catherine was attracted to him immediately, but their initial meeting did not work out because he was too shy. They met again in 2014. At the time, Catherine was performing on stage, and Lissy seemed to come alive when he looked at her. His friends noticed a change in him. His usually indifferent expression lit up with excitement. It was love. Before this meeting, Lissy had never been in a serious relationship, but he seemed ready to start a family. They started dating and their relationship quickly developed. A few months later, when things became more serious, they introduced each other to Catherine's parents. Catherine's family had mixed feelings about her choice of partner. They had hoped for someone more experienced and outgoing. However, her parents ultimately supported her decision. Catherine felt that Lissy was the perfect person to start a family with. Lissy's family was very supportive of his choice. They liked Catherine because she was smart, cheerful, energetic, determined, and capable of taking care of him. His father especially appreciated these qualities, which made Lissy happy. The father was very happy that his son finally found a girlfriend. His father gifted the couple a house. It was a small but cozy place in the countryside, perfect for starting their family life together. Soon after, the couple got married and later they welcomed children. However, this story does not have a happy ending. After their marriage, Lissy's true nature began to emerge in an unusual way. He began to cheat on his wife. His good looks made it easy for him to meet new women without feeling guilty. At the time, Catherine was completely unaware of his affair, as he worked in Milan, far from their family home. Lissy had affairs with many different women and became adept at being charming and fun, making many of them want to pursue a serious relationship with him. And as soon as the idea of a serious relationship was mentioned, he would end things with his mistress and quickly start seeing someone new. He never revealed to any of them that he was married and had children. He pursued attractive women, often initiating relationships with female colleagues at work. He showed little regard for privacy during his extramarital activities in Milan. His reckless lifestyle was well known to many of his friends and acquaintances. After 7 years of marriage, Catherine welcomed her second child. However, in 2009, she discovered that Lissy had been unfaithful and had been acting recklessly in the lawn. Despite this betrayal, Catherine was determined to keep her family together and did her best to strengthen her relationship with her husband. Although there were signs that Lissy had considered divorce several times, she repeatedly urged him to stay for the sake of the children. In fact, Lissy cheated on her the first time before the wedding. Just a week before their wedding, while Catherine was volunteering at the Red Cross, Lissy went out with friends to a strip club, celebrating a bachelor party. During this outing, a woman showed interest in him, and his friends encouraged him to spend the night with as a last fun before marriage. he finally agreed. The next day, he confessed to Catherine that he enjoyed being single and admitted that he was not ready for marriage or a serious relationship. Heartbroken, Catherine packed her things and moved in with her parents. However, the next day, Lissy returned, apologized to her and her family, and begged her to come back. Catherine forgave him and they eventually married. Friends say he loved spending time with his children and playing with them, but he never showed affection. Those who knew him never saw him kiss or hug his son and daughter. His life was filled with lies that were obvious to both him and those around him. When a new employee joined the company where Lissy worked, he and the girl started a relationship. But the girl did not want to be the reason for the breakup, especially because it would leave the two young children without a father. Meanwhile, Lissy was haunted by his unrequited love. This frustration led him to come up with a dark plan. Despite the objections of his colleagues, Lissy decided to end his marriage to Catherine. However, he was too afraid to approach his wife and discuss it, fearing that another conflict would arise and complicate things even more. He knew that he would not be able to resist her pleas to stay together for the sake of the children. Therefore, Lissy believed that using a knife would be the solution to her problems. Police discovered relevant search queries in his browser. Initially, Lissy was looking for a divorce lawyer and also looking for a way to end her relationship quickly without professional help. Lissy then began searching for knife murder methods. This led him to a news story about a knife robbery that had occurred in their neighborhood a year earlier, which sparked the idea of staging a robbery to throw the investigation off course. On June 14, 2014, Lissy woke up with the intention of killing his entire family. It had been only a week since Lissy had started searching online for ways to kill his loved ones, and he had finally decided to carry out the horrific act. Throughout the day, he maintained the facade of a devoted family man. It was a typical Saturday for a couple with children. They went shopping together, went to a store to project an image of a happy relationship, and enjoyed family activities. It seemed like he had planned the perfect farewell weekend for them. In the evening, Catherine prepared a delicious dinner and they enjoyed it together. Afterwards, Lissy planned to visit friends to watch the football match between Italy and England. He chose this date and event as the perfect alibi. Lissy staged a massacre. Many people would be out watching the match at parties and bars, making it the perfect time to stage the robbery. After dinner, the couple put the children to bed. Lissy said goodnight to them. The couple then had sex in the living room. Around 11 p.m., Lissy told his wife that he was going to visit friends. Instead of getting dressed, he went into the kitchen in just his underwear and grabbed the largest knife in the house. He returned to the living room where Catherine was watching TV and talking to him. Lissy then approached her from behind and stabbed her in the neck, thinking that Catherine would die instantly. However, she got up and ran away. After a few steps, he caught up with her and continued stabbing her repeatedly without stopping. After stabbing Catherine 5 times deep into her chest and abdomen until she showed no signs of life, he then went into his eldest daughter's room. Despite the noise and the slightly open door, she was still fast asleep. He approached her and stabbed her once in the neck. Next, Lissy entered the room of their second child, who was 20 months old at the time. Like his sister, little boy slept soundly. Little boy also died from a stab wound to the neck. However, Lissy's plan was not over yet. He went down to the basement where the bathroom was located. There, he showered to wash away any evidence of the triple murder and got dressed. Unfortunately for him, he made a mistake. He was wearing the same panties he wore to kill his children and wife. Lissy cleaned up the house and staged a robbery. He threw things around the house, threw a knife down the drain, and then calmly went to meet his friends to watch a long-awaited match as if nothing had happened. When his friends later learned of the murder, they were shocked, not only because Lissy's image as a perfect husband and father had been shattered, but also because of his calm and nonchalant attitude while watching the match. He clearly showed no concern or remorse for his actions. To add to his alibi, he sent several messages to Catherine discussing the game's score. At 2 a.m., Lissy returned to the crime scene, acting as if it were a normal day. He parked his car in the garage, changed into his indoor shoes and went into the kitchen. There, he saw the chaos he had created and even recorded a short video. In the video, he claimed that he had come home to find a robbery had taken place. In the video, he enters the living room and finds his wife lying in a pool of blood. In shock, he screams and runs outside to get help. However, he does not go upstairs to check on the children. Normally, an innocent person would try to help a loved one, check their pulse or make sure the children are okay. Instead, Lissy avoids approaching his wife and children, which raises suspicions against him in court. Lissy calmly explained his reasons for his actions. When asked why he did not divorce his wife to protect her and the children, he said that after the divorce, he would have to pay child support. He believed that his new partner, Maria, would not accept them, creating more complications. He felt that having his daughter and son around would be a burden. In addition, he did not want to deal with the division of their joint assets. Therefore, he decided to completely free himself from these responsibilities. The investigation into Lissy's family murders was straightforward. He had confessed, his motive was clear, and the evidence was solid. The main issue in the trial was to determine whether his actions were intentional. His online search history suggested they were. A week later, while awaiting trial, Lissy was taken for a psychological evaluation. It was possible that he may not have been fully aware of his actions. Experts determined that Lissy was sane and fit to stand trial. During the trial, he chose not to have a lawyer, believing that fighting for his freedom was unnecessary. Lissy was sentenced to life imprisonment, which he initially accepted. However, after starting his sentence, his feelings may have shifted. He declined legal representation and filed an appeal, but soon after, he sent another letter withdrawing the appeal and stating that he believed the sentence was fair. Although it may seem odd, Lissy's refusal was not surprising. Throughout his life, he had never been one to fight for anything. Now, in prison, he found himself in an environment where he didn't have to make decisions or strive for anything. He could simply be passive and quiet. Prisoners followed a daily routine and adhered to specific rules, which seemed to suit Lissy well. In Lissy's trial, the judge found Lissy guilty of attempted triple murder. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years. He has been in prison for over 4 years now. Lissy is considered a model prisoner. His cellmates and guards say that he seems genuinely remorseful for his actions.